Welcome back to Discourse number 2, You Create Your Reality, the Manifestation of Thought. This is session number 12. Morphogenesis, the act of self-creation. In 1948, mathematician and electrical engineer Claude Shannon was hired by telecommunication company Bell Telephone Labs to devise a way for the most efficient way to encode and transfer information over wires. As a result, he published a landmark paper entitled A Mathematical Theory of Communication. His knowledge of Boolean algebra and switching circuits were fundamental principles that not only provided a solution for Bell, but also became the foundation from which electronic digital computers evolved. The Boolean algebra that was the foundation of his solution is a conditional logic that rests on the values of yes or no. Translated into digital language, the values of yes or no became the binary units of 1 and 0. These were referred to as bits, or a unit of information. This simple system of conditional logic enabled a system to store and recall information electronically. Simple data or information could now express a value or meaning. Although a mathematician, Shannon has since been regarded as the founder of information theory that science has also pursued in its quest to understand the nature of the universe and reality. Physicist John Wheeler, quoted earlier, was one such scientist who investigated the concept that information is the substance of the universe and used Shannon's unit of bit to encompass his theories. Wheeler defined his principle of the universe being primarily an information system with a simple statement: the it is bit. The it being a reference to a particle. In 1989, Wheeler presented this theory in a published paper entitled Information, Physics, Quantum, The Search for Links. In the opening he states, I, like other searchers, attempt formulation after formulation of the central issues and here present a wider overview, taking for working hypothesis the most effective one that has survived this winnowing, it from bit. Otherwise put, every it, every particle, every field of force, even the space-time continuum itself, derives its function, its meaning, its very existence entirely, even if some context indirectly, from the apparatus elicited answers to yes or no questions, binary choices, bits. It from bit symbolizes the idea that every item of the physical world has at the bottom, at a very deep bottom in most instances, an immaterial source and explanation, that what we call reality arises in the last analysis from the posing of yes-no questions and the registering of equipment-evoked responses. In short, that all things physical are information theoretic in origin, and this is a participatory universe. In essence, Wheeler is asserting the claim that a particle is a bit of information that is declaring a yes or no answer when observed or measured. It is in this respect that the instrument that is measuring the non-local quantum field of all potentials and probabilities as waves of photons, light, in the act of choosing becomes the participator. There is no independence or separation between the particle and the observer. Both are intertwined and act together. The creator and the created are one. After John Wheeler passed away in 2008, an article appeared in the British journal Physics World in June 2010 titled Symbols of Power, Adinkras and the Nature of Reality. The article was authored by S. James Gates, Jr., an American theoretical physicist who worked with theories relating to supersymmetry, supergravity, and superstring. At the time, Gates was a professor of computer, mathematical and natural sciences at the University of Maryland in the US, and would later serve on President Barack Obama's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. As a theoretical physicist, equations are used to describe the fabric of the unseen universe and the nature of reality. The article published for the first time Gates' equation that revealed strings of computer codes, or bits of ones and zeros, at the heart of his equations. But it was not just computer code, but a very specific computer code known as error correcting code. This code, known as the Hamming code, was used in telecommunications to correct transmitted signals of bits that may have been corrupted during transmission. This code in various formats is still used today in email and internet technology. The Hamming code was the work of mathematician Richard Hamming, who worked with Bell Telephone Labs in 1950 and shared an office with Claude Shannon. Gates' research had uncovered a bizarre discovery that computer code was a fundamental property of the fabric of the universe and reality, exactly as Wheeler was also claiming. Shannon and Hamming, through mathematics, had revealed this code through technological and computational methods that Gates had found via equations in quantum physics. This publication by Gates in 2010 added further weight to not only the information theory of science, as proposed by Wheeler's the it is bit theory, but to the new horizon of insight being proposed by other scientific and philosophical researchers, that the universe may be likened to a supercomputer. The most notable of these is Nick Bostrom, a Swedish philosopher at the University of Oxford in England, whose published paper appeared in 2003 edition of the Philosophical Quarterly, titled, "Are You Living in a Computer Simulation?" In the opening of his publication, it includes a hypothesis. This paper argues that at least one of the following propositions is true. Number 3, we are almost certainly living in a computer simulation. It follows that the belief that there is a significant chance that we will one day become post-humans who run ancestor simulations is false, unless we are currently living in a simulation. Dr. Brian Whitworth, PhD, a senior lecturer at the Institute of Information and Mathematical Sciences at Massey University, Auckland, New Zealand, has also contributed to this hypothesis of reality being a simulation or a virtual reality. In 2007, Whitworth published a paper titled "The Physical World as a Virtual Reality," which explored the idea that the universe is a virtual reality created by information processing. More recently, in 2019, he published another research paper, Quantum Realism, which states, "Quantum realism concludes that everything we know comes from a quantum reality that is unstoppable and unavoidable. The prime directive of the virtual reality isn't efficiency, because quantum reality always runs anyway, but evolution. The evidence suggests that we live in an evolving virtual reality." Physicist and scientist Tom Campbell, PhD, is one of the more renowned members of the science community that has publicly expressed his hypothesis that reality is a simulation. His theory was published in a 3-part trilogy titled My Big Toe, T-O-E, The Theory of Everything, which consists of over 1,000 pages of scientific explanations to support his theory. This proposition by Bostrom, Whitworth and Campbell that we may be living in a computer simulation is certainly supported by all of the facts presented so far. The only difference between the words used by the ancient scripts, such as the Bhagavad Gita, the Secret Doctrine, and even Pythagoras' monad, for example, is the language used. Illusion, Maya, Lila, and cosmic dream could all be considered in the same context as a computer simulation, just different terminology that was not available to be used as a description in those eras of human history. Previously in a discourse, it was stated, manifestation is creative ideation, whereby electromagnetic frequencies determine what is made visible in your personal reality experience. Thoughts create. Creative ideation has been given as the reference term to embed this idea that your personal reality is an image only and has no solid or fixed foundation that has been alluded to in the term solid matter. A particle or monad could easily be replaced with the term pixel, a pixel being the smallest packet of information contained within a digital image. Hologram or holographic is also a term conducive to this concept that reality is an image or mental projection only. More will be discussed on the nature of holograms later in this discourse. This concept that reality may be a computer simulation or a virtual reality is not only limited to scientific hypotheses, but also shows up in other domains of non-scientific writings and experience. Philip K. Dick, the most prolific and renowned author of science fiction novels, published 44 books, including classics such as The Man in the High Castle and Flow My Tears. Many of his novels were made into Hollywood movies such as Blade Runner, Minority Report, and The Adjustment Bureau. Dick claimed that his novels were inspired by memories he retained from altered states of consciousness where he accessed alternative universes and experienced the reality of these alternative universes. In 1977, he delivered a speech where he publicly declared his belief that we are living in a computer-programmed reality. This speech can be viewed on YouTube. He stated, "We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant. Such an impression is a clue that in some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off." In the earlier discourse, The Ego Personality, Neil Donald Walsh provided an explanation as to how the ego-body-mind consciousness creates an illusion of the idea of separation that does not exist in ultimate reality. To remind you what was stated, the quote is provided again. "Yet it is our wish to know ourselves as who we really are. Thus we must first create the experience of who we are not. Since we cannot create this experience in ultimate reality, we must do so through illusion. When binary code is processed through a computer, it can be considered as computing or processing information. One of the definitions referred to previously was that of information that included shape, give form to. It is therefore appropriate to again make reference to another statement that appears in Walsh's book. I am the energy of life. I am that which forms that which has taken form. Everything you see is God in differing formation. You are all God in formation. Or put another way, you are God's information." Walsh's book Communion with God is written as a revelation to the primary illusions that are the basis of the program that the ego-body-mind consciousness is constructed from. It therefore offers significant insights that should be noted here, especially part 2, Mastering the Illusion. You are not the illusion, and the you that you experience within the illusion is not who you really are. In truth, there is no such thing as time. There is simply a process which is going on continually in the never-ending moment of now. God is a process. You have learned that the reason it seems so real is not because it is real, but because you believe so firmly that it is. You will know that the illusion is not real when you see that you can easily manipulate it. If you recall the earlier quote from the Discourse, The Ego Personality, whereby Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj affirmed that you are nothing perceivable or conceivable, then it can again be reasserted that you, with a personality and body, are also a part of the simulation. One final reference that can also be mentioned further to embed this understanding is taken from The Disappearance of the Universe, the book by Gary Renard. Renard wrote of his experiences with two entities that appeared to him as interdimensional beings in 1992 that were referred to as ascended masters. His book recorded the conversations over a period of 10 years, and Renard went on to become a teacher in A Course in Miracles. Purser, don't forget, the images you see in what you think is your real life are no more real than the images you see on TV or at the movies. Artem, the body, the universe, and everything in it are just pictures in your mind, parts of a virtual reality game. Perhaps at times it's a rather convincing forgery of life, but like the shroud, it's a fake. If we proceed further down the rabbit hole of this analogy that creation is comparable to a supercomputer that processes information, then the statement by Artem expressed is part of a virtual reality game is quite revealing. It was stated earlier, the creator knows, the created is the state of forgetfulness or the aspect that does not know. An aspect of one must forget in order for existence or creation to be experienced. This state of forgetfulness that the ego body-mind consciousness is symbolic of, in effect, creates a game of hide and seek. Philosopher Alan Watts actually uses this term when attempting to describe the spiritual philosophy behind the meaning of life. God also likes to play hide and seek, but because there is nothing outside God, he has no one but himself to play with. But he gets over this difficulty by pretending that he is not himself. This is his way of hiding from himself. He pretends that he is you and I and all of the people in the world, all the animals, all the plants, all the rocks, and all the stars. In this way, he has strange and wonderful adventures, some of which are terrible and frightening. But these are just like bad dreams, for when he wakes up, they will disappear. Now, when God plays hide and seek and pretends that he is you and I, he does it so well that it takes him a long time to remember where and how he hid himself. But that's the whole fun of it. Just what he wanted to do. He doesn't want to find himself too quickly, for that would spoil the game. That is why it's so difficult for you and me to find out that we are God in disguise, pretending not to be himself. But when the game has gone on long enough, all of us will wake up, stop pretending, and remember that we are all one single self. The God who is all that there is and who lives forever and ever. There is indeed a game of hide and seek embedded in primal reality. For concealment and revelation are complementary processes that are necessary for learning. Truth awaits on your discovery. The word occult means hidden, secret, concealed. Hence, the original ancient texts and scriptures inscribed the revelations of truth and cloaked their mystery in symbolism, myth, and parable to be protected from the profane or uninitiated. The ancient mystery schools, secret societies, and fraternities became the keepers of the secret, of which Gnosticism was the basis. As the Sufis declared, the secret protects itself. It is found only in the spirit and practice of the work. If mystery and concealment are part of the game, then revelation is also available. The book of Revelation in the New Testament is also known as the Apocalypse of St. John and was considered a book of prophecy. The actual meaning of apocalypse is revelation, disclosure. Revelation, pertaining to reveal, is from the Latin word revelare, meaning unveil, uncover, lay bare. Hence, the book of Revelation is a symbolic prophecy of the age of Aquarius, whereby this understanding of truth was to be revealed to all. For all that is secret will eventually be brought into the open, and everything that is concealed will be brought to light and made known to all. From the word occult, another word arises that is relevant here, that of occultation, which means disguise or concealment of identity. There is a statement contained within the earlier discourse, the ego personality, that reflects what statement quoted previously, that we are God in disguise. To recall, it was stated, if the ego is a synthetic or artificially created entity that is not your natural state of being, then it must have been created to have an experience in opposition to primal reality. To experience separation, you must have a thought that thinks I am separate. This is the role of the ego body mind consciousness thought stream serves. It pretends, like an actor, that it is someone else or a character in a play that is playing a role and experiencing something other than who it really is. The term actor or artificially created entity used in this statement could easily be substituted with the word avatar, which represents the act of occultation. In etymology, the word avatar means descent of a Hindu deity to earth in an incarnate or tangible form. From Sanskrit, avatarana, descent of a deity to the earth in incarnate form. A deity defined is divine nature, godhood, attributes of a god. Both of these definitions support Neil Donald Walsh's earlier quote from Communion with God that declared, "You are all God in formation." The Christ Jesus also declared the same truth. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? They do not know or understand. They wander in the darkness. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. I have said, you are gods. You are all sons of the Most High. The term Son of God is reference to the human entity or avatar that has regained this state of remembrance of their divine origin. This is salvation, enlightenment, or at one-ment. In modern-day computer analogy, the term avatar is defined as an icon, graphic, or other image by which a person represents himself or herself on a communications network or in a virtual community, such as a chat room or multiplayer game. Hence, the ego body mind consciousness in human form may be likened to a character in the virtual reality game of hide and seek. The avatar's state of forgetfulness required for the virtual reality game of hide and seek is the amnesic state compelled by hypnosis that was discussed in the earlier discourse. This state is induced through suppression of guilt and shame into the unconscious. It is repression that impels projection, and projection creates perception. Perception, like a computer, requires memory, as a program cannot run if it does not have a memory. The ego body mind consciousness is a limitation on memory, which creates its state of ignorance or forgetfulness. The human entity becomes like a laptop computer with a limited memory that has been disconnected without a Wi-Fi connection to the all-knowingness of all that is. Everything in primal reality exists in the eternal now. There is nothing that has not been created already. As the book of Genesis 2:1-3 declared, creation was completed in 6 days, and on the 7th day God rested. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all their multitude, and on the 7th day God finished the work that he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all the work that he had done. So God blessed the 7th day and hallowed it, because on it God rested from all the work that he had done in creation. This completion is also mentioned in Aeschylates 1:9. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. If all of creation is complete, then there must be a place where the memory of all that is stored, just as a server stores the memory for the internet. In quantum physics, the non-local field is a reference to mean non-locality. The wave particle fields of photons have no definite location, but remain uncertain. Hence, it is only ever referred to as a field of potentials or probabilities. Nothing is actualized. In Eastern philosophy, this field is given the name Akasha, which is the Sanskrit word for ether. It is considered the basis and essence of all things in the material physical world, appearing as the 5th element along with earth, water, fire, and air. The etymology definition of ether arises from the Latin term ether, meaning the upper, pure, bright air, sky, firmament. The word firmament that appears within this definition is also referred to in the book of Genesis as the division of the waters from above from that which was below. Then God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Thus God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and so it was. And God called the firmament heaven. The evening and the morning were the 2nd day. The firmament creates the separation of heaven, being the realm of knowing or omniscience, from earth, being the realm of not knowing, forgetfulness and ignorance. The non-local realm, or Boehm's implicate order, is heaven, ether, or akasha, and the physical material explicate order is the earth, or the domain of the human entity. Water in this context meant matter. The akasha, or the ether, is where all creation is held as the memory of all knowingness, that is the mind of all that is, which is omniscient. It can be considered as the potentials or probabilities of ideas waiting to be manifested into physical expression on the material 3D plane of demonstration. Akasha in Eastern philosophical texts is also referred to as the Akashic records, the Hall of Records, or the Halls of Amanti, and were believed to contain every thought, every event, and every memory that has ever been created. The sacred Hindu text, the Bhagavad Gita, God Talks with Arjuna, by Yogananda, makes reference to the Akasha in the introduction. All events and all wisdom are permanently recorded in the super ether of omniscience, the Akashic etheric record. They can be directly contacted by any advanced sage in any clime and age. Indian Guru Swami Vivekananda, as a disciple and teacher of the Gita, in his works Raja Yoga, refers to the Akasha. According to the philosophers of India, the whole universe is composed of 2 materials, one of which they call Akasha. It is the omnipresent, all-penetrating existence. Everything that has form, everything that is the result of combination is evolved out of the Akasha. It is the akasha that becomes the air, that becomes the liquids, that becomes the solids. It is the akasha that becomes the sun, the earth, the moon, the stars, the comets. It is the akasha that becomes the human body, the animal body, the plants, every form that we see, everything that can be sensed, everything that exists. It cannot be perceived. It is so subtle that it is beyond all ordinary perception. It can only be seen when it has become gross, has taken form. At the beginning of creation, there is only this akasha. At the end of the cycle, the solids, the liquids, and the gases all melt into the akasha again, and the next creation similarly proceeds out of this akasha. The Serbian-born American inventor and electrical engineer Nikola Tesla, who designed the alternating current of electricity supply and considered a genius of his era, also mentions akasha in a little-known article published in a Texas journal in 1930. Long ago, he recognized that all perceptible matter comes from a primary substance of a tenuity beyond conception and filling all space, the akasha or luminiferous ether, which is acted upon by the life-giving prana or creative force, calling into existence in never-ending cycles all things and phenomena. The primary substance, thrown into infinitesimal whirls of prodigious velocity, becomes gross matter. The force subsiding, the motion ceases and matter disappears, reverting to the primary substance. Can man control this grandest, most awe-inspiring of all processes in nature? Can he harness her inexhaustible energies to perform all their functions at his bidding? More still, can he so refine his means of control as to put them to operation simply by the force of his will? If he could do this, he would have powers almost unlimited and supernatural. In the previous discourse, The Ego Personality, psychiatrist Dr. David R. Hawkins provided essential insights as his knowledge of both psychological mechanisms and Eastern mystical wisdom are a powerful combination. In another of his books, Power versus Force, his reference to database is in effect talking about the akasha. The individual human mind is like a computer terminal connected to a giant database. The database is human consciousness itself, of which our own cognizance is merely an individual expression, but with its roots in the common consciousness of all mankind. This database is the realm of genius, because to be human is to participate in the database. Everyone, by virtue of his birth, has access to genius. The unlimited information contained within this database has now been shown to be readily available to anyone in a few seconds. This concludes session 12 for discourse number 2, You Create Your Reality, the Manifestation of Thought. I shall leave a link in the description box below for session number 13, where we shall continue with the concept of genius. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for your attendance in this session. So be it.